Welcome, dear listener, to a peaceful journey through the beautiful and fascinating story of Japan. As you settle into comfort, let your mind drift along with the gentle flow of history, like leaves floating on a quiet stream. Tonight, we'll explore together the remarkable tale of an island nation that has given the world so much beauty, wisdom, and wonder. Close your eyes if you wish, and let the soft rhythm of these words carry you to a place of tranquility, as we begin our serene voyage through time long, long ago, when the world was young and mist covered the rolling hills of what would become Japan. The islands were home to people who lived in harmony with nature's gentle rhythms. These early inhabitants, known as the Jomon people, lived peacefully for thousands of years, from around 14,000 to 300 BCE. Their name comes from the beautiful rope pattern pottery they created with patient, careful hands. Picture, if you will, these gentle people gathering around warm fires, shaping clay with loving attention, creating vessels that would last for millennia. They lived in simple pit houses, close to the earth, and found sustenance from the sea's generous bounty and the forest's quiet gifts. The sound of waves lapping against pristine shores provided a constant, soothing soundtrack to their daily lives. The Jomon people were among the first in the world to create pottery, their skilled fingers working the clay into forms both beautiful and practical. Archaeological discoveries reveal tiny clay figurines, called dogu, with mysterious expressions that seem to watch over us even today with ancient wisdom. These artifacts whisper stories of a people who understood the sacred connection between human hands and the earth's patient materials. As centuries passed like gentle seasons, around 300 BCE, new influences began to flow across the sea from the Asian mainland. The Yayoi people brought with them the knowledge of rice cultivation, and slowly, peacefully, this new way of life spread across the islands like morning light spreading across still water. The cultivation of rice would become not just a means of sustenance, but a cornerstone of Japanese culture, connecting people to the cycles of planting, growing, and harvesting that mirror life's own gentle rhythms. In these early rice paddies, we can imagine the soft sounds of water trickling through carefully constructed channels, the whisper of wind through green stalks, and the quiet satisfaction of communities working together in harmony. This agricultural foundation created the first stable settlements, and from these peaceful beginnings grew the roots of Japanese civilization. As the gentle stream of time flowed onward, around the 3rd century CE, the various clans and communities of Japan began to unite under the peaceful leadership of the Yamato clan. This was not a time of conquest or violence, but rather a gradual coming together, like tributaries joining to form a mighty river. The Yamato rulers established their court in what is now the Nara region, creating Japan's first centralized government. Here, in halls filled with soft light filtering through paper screens, wise leaders deliberated on how to govern their growing nation with compassion and wisdom. The emperor was seen not as a warrior king, but as a descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu, bringing light and warmth to the people. During this time, Japan began to develop its unique writing system, adapting Chinese characters to express the subtle nuances of the Japanese language. Imagine scribes working by candlelight, their brushes moving gracefully across rice paper, creating the first written records of Japanese thought and feeling. Poetry began to flourish, with the earliest forms of what would become the beloved haiku taking shape in contemplative minds. The Yamato period also saw the introduction of Buddhism from Korea and China, around 538 CE. This gentle philosophy, with its emphasis on compassion, mindfulness, and the interconnectedness of all beings, found fertile ground in the Japanese heart. Buddhist temples began to rise across the landscape, their curved roofs and peaceful gardens creating sanctuaries of tranquility where people could find solace and spiritual reflection. Prince Shotoku, one of the most revered figures of this era, created a constitution that emphasized harmony, respect, and benevolent governance. His 17-article constitution began with the beautiful principle that harmony is precious, a value that would echo through Japanese culture for centuries to come. In quiet temple halls and palace rooms, monks and scholars worked together to blend Buddhist teachings with traditional Shinto beliefs, creating a uniquely Japanese approach to spirituality that honored both the natural world and the quest for inner peace. As we drift further along our gentle journey through time, we arrive at one of the most refined and peaceful periods in Japanese history, the Heian period, lasting from 794 to 1185 CE. The very name Heian means peace and tranquility, and indeed, this was an era when Japanese culture bloomed like cherry blossoms in spring. The capital moved to Heian-kyō, present-day Kyoto, a city designed with careful attention to harmony and beauty. Wide, tree-lined avenues stretched in perfect geometric patterns, while elegant palaces with their distinctive upturned roofs created spaces of serene magnificence. The imperial court became a center of artistic refinement, where courtiers dressed in layers of silk kimonos in subtle, coordinated colors, each combination reflecting the season and the wearer's aesthetic sensibility. It was during this peaceful time that some of the world's greatest literary works were created. Lady Murasaki Shikibu, writing by soft lamplight in her private chambers, penned the tale of Genji, often considered the world's first psychological novel. Her gentle prose captured the fleeting beauty of life, the bittersweet nature of love, and the Buddhist concept of mono no aware, the poignant awareness of the impermanence of all things. Picture the court ladies of this era, sitting on tatami mats in rooms open to carefully manicured gardens, writing poetry on delicate paper and exchanging verses that captured moments of natural beauty, the first snowfall, the blooming of wisteria, the song of a nightingale. The famous Pillow Book of Sei Shonagon gives us glimpses of daily life filled with aesthetic pleasures, the sound of rain on leaves, the way morning light fell across a wooden floor, the careful arrangement of seasonal flowers. During the Heian period, the Japanese developed their unique phonetic writing systems, hiragana and katakana, which allowed for more natural expression of Japanese thoughts and feelings. This literary flowering was accompanied by achievements in painting, with artists creating delicate scrolls depicting seasonal changes and court life in soft, muted colors that seemed to glow within a light. The Buddhist temples of this era, such as the magnificent Byodo-in, were designed as earthly representations of paradise, with their reflection pools creating perfect mirror images that doubled their ethereal beauty. These sacred spaces offered visitors a glimpse of the Pure Land that Buddhist teachings promised, places where one could sit in meditation and feel connected to something greater than oneself. As all things in life must change, like the turning of seasons, Japan's peaceful Heian period gradually gave way to a time when warrior clans began to assert their influence. Yet even in this age of the samurai, which lasted from 1185 to 1573, there remained a deep appreciation for beauty, honor, and spiritual development. The Kamakura period began when Minamoto Yoritomo established the first shogunate, moving the center of power from the imperial court in Kyoto to the seaside town of Kamakura. Here, surrounded by gentle hills and walking paths lined with bamboo, the warrior government created a new form of rule that valued loyalty, courage, and self-discipline. The samurai who emerged during this time were not merely fighters, but cultivated individuals who studied poetry, practiced calligraphy, and sought spiritual enlightenment. They followed the way of Bushido, the path of the warrior, which emphasized honor, compassion for the weak, and respect for all life. Many samurai were accomplished poets, finding in the brief, perfect form of haiku a way to express the intensity and transience of their experiences. Zen Buddhism, with its emphasis on meditation and direct understanding, found particular favor among the warrior class. In quiet temple gardens, designed with raked gravel and carefully placed stones, samurai would sit in meditation, seeking the inner peace that would make them both better warriors and better human beings. The famous tea ceremony also began to develop during this time, transforming the simple act of preparing and sharing tea into a meditation on mindfulness, respect, and the beauty found in simplicity. The Muromaji period, which followed, saw the rise of the Ashikaga shogunate and continued refinement of Japanese arts. This was when no theater developed, with its slow, dreamlike movements and haunting masks that seemed to capture the very essence of human emotion. The stories told in No often dealt with themes of love, loss, and spiritual transformation, performed in a style so stylized and beautiful that watching became a form of meditation. During these centuries, Japan also experienced visits from European traders and missionaries. The Portuguese arrived in 1543, bringing with them firearms and Christianity. While some Japanese embraced these new influences, others worried about their effect on traditional Japanese values. The interaction between East and West during this period was complex but generally peaceful, with both sides learning from each other and finding common ground in their shared humanity. Following a brief period of civil wars, Japan entered into what many consider its most peaceful and stable era, the Edo period, lasting from 1603 to 1868. Under the wise leadership of the Tokugawa shogunate, Japan enjoyed over 2.5 centuries of peace, prosperity, and cultural flowering. The capital moved to Edo, present-day Tokyo, which grew to become one of the world's largest cities. Yet despite its size, Edo maintained a human scale, with neighborhoods organized around local shrines and temples, creating communities where people knew their neighbors and looked out for one another. The city was crisscrossed with canals and waterways, and residents would often take leisurely boat rides to enjoy the seasonal beauty of cherry blossoms or autumn maples. During this time, Japan chose a policy of peaceful isolation, limiting contact with the outside world to allow Japanese culture to develop without external pressure. This was not a time of stagnation, but rather one of incredible internal growth and refinement. Arts and crafts flourished as never before, with artisans perfecting techniques passed down through generations. The famous woodblock prints of artists like Hokusai and Hiroshige captured the beauty of Japanese landscapes and daily life in vivid colors and bold compositions. Hokusai's Great Wave off Kanagawa became one of the most recognizable images in world art, its dynamic curve somehow managing to convey both the power of nature and a sense of harmony between humans and their environment. Literature continued to flourish, with popular novels like The Tale of the 47 Ronin capturing the Japanese ideals of loyalty and honor. Haiku poetry reached new heights of refinement under masters like Matsu Basho, who traveled throughout Japan writing verses that captured moments of natural beauty and spiritual insight. His famous haiku about a frog jumping into a pond and the resulting sound became a meditation on the nature of existence itself. The Edo period also saw the development of kabuki theater, with its colorful costumes, dramatic makeup, and emotionally powerful performances. Unlike the refined no theater of earlier periods, kabuki was entertainment for the common people, dealing with themes of love, revenge, and social justice in stories that were both exciting and deeply moving. Education flourished during this peaceful time, with literacy rates becoming among the highest in the world. Temple schools taught not only reading and writing, but also moral values and appreciation for beauty. Children learned to appreciate poetry, practice calligraphy, and understand their place in the natural world. The result was a society that valued learning, aesthetic refinement, and social harmony. All periods of history must eventually come to an end, like flowers that bloom beautifully and then gracefully fall. In 1854, Commodore Matthew Perry's arrival in Japan marked the beginning of a new chapter in the nation's story. Rather than resist change, Japan chose to embrace it with the same wisdom and adaptability that had characterized its culture for centuries. The Meiji Restoration of 1868 was remarkably peaceful, with Emperor Meiji taking nominal control of the government from the Tokugawa shogunate. The young emperor chose the name Meiji, meaning enlightened rule, signaling Japan's intention to learn from the rest of the world while maintaining its unique cultural identity. The transformation that followed was breathtaking in its scope and speed, yet it was accomplished with minimal violence and maximum respect for human dignity. Japanese leaders traveled to Europe and America, carefully studying Western systems of government, education, and industry. They returned not as mere imitators, but as thoughtful adapters, taking what was useful from foreign cultures and blending it skillfully with Japanese values. The capital moved to Tokyo, and the city began to transform with wide boulevards, brick buildings, and gas lighting. Yet traditional elements remained, creating a unique hybrid architecture that was both modern and distinctly Japanese. The famous Rokumeikan, a Western-style building where Japanese leaders entertained foreign diplomats, featured both ballrooms for Western dancing and traditional Japanese rooms for tea ceremonies. Education became a national priority, with the government establishing a modern school system that combined Western scientific knowledge with traditional Japanese values. The slogan Fukoku Kyohei, enrich the country, strengthen the military, reflected Japan's desire to become a strong, modern nation while maintaining its peaceful character. During this remarkable period, Japan built its first railways, with trains that connected distant regions and allowed people to travel safely and comfortably across the country. Telegraph lines were strung, connecting Japan not only internally but with the rest of the world. The first Japanese newspapers began publication, spreading literacy and creating a more informed citizenry. Japanese artists of this period created works that blended Eastern and Western techniques, producing paintings and sculptures that were completely new yet unmistakably Japanese. The woodblock prints of this era often depicted the new technologies and foreign influences, but always with the characteristic Japanese eye for beauty and composition. Industrial growth and modernization. As the 19th century drew to a close and the 20th century began, Japan continued its remarkable transformation from a feudal society to a modern industrial nation. This change, while rapid, was accomplished with characteristic Japanese attention to harmony and social cohesion. Factories began to appear across the country, but they were often designed with gardens and spaces for workers to find moments of tranquility during their day. The Japanese approach to industrialization emphasized not just efficiency, but also the well-being of workers and the preservation of social harmony. Company housing often included communal baths and spaces for traditional celebrations, maintaining connections to cultural practices even as technology advanced. The textile industry became particularly important, with Japanese silk and cotton goods becoming prized around the world for their quality and beauty. Women played a crucial role in these industries, and while working conditions were often challenging, there was also a sense of national pride in contributing to Japan's modernization. Education continued to expand, with universities established to train engineers, doctors, and teachers. The Imperial University of Tokyo became a center of learning that combined Western scientific methods with Japanese philosophical approaches. Students from across Asia began coming to Japan to study, making the country a bridge between Eastern and Western learning. During this period, Japan also began to develop its own unique approaches to modern art and literature. Writers like Natsume Soseki created novels that explored the psychological impact of rapid modernization, while maintaining the subtle, introspective style that characterized Japanese literature. His works, such as I Am a Cat and Kokoro, captured the tension between traditional values and modern life with gentle humor and deep insight. The development of photography in Japan during this time created a visual record of the transformation, with photographers capturing both the excitement of the new and the enduring beauty of the traditional. Images from this period show steam trains passing Mount Fuji, Western-dressed officials participating in traditional ceremonies, and children in school uniforms playing traditional games. The Taisho period, from 1912 to 1926, was a time of relative peace and democratic development that many historians call Japan's first experiment with liberal democracy. Named after Emperor Taisho, this era saw a flowering of individual expression and cultural innovation that built upon the solid foundations laid during the Meiji period. Urban culture began to flourish as never before, with Tokyo and Osaka becoming cosmopolitan centers where traditional Japanese values mixed with international influences. Coffee shops and beer halls opened alongside traditional tea houses, creating spaces where intellectuals, artists, and ordinary citizens could gather to discuss ideas and enjoy new forms of entertainment. That moga and mobo, modern girls and modern boys, became symbols of this new era, young people who adopted Western fashions and attitudes while maintaining distinctly Japanese sensibilities. Young women began to enter the workforce in greater numbers, not just in factories but also as teachers, nurses, and office workers. This gradual change in women's roles happened peacefully, with society adapting to new realities while maintaining respect for traditional values. Literature during this period became more experimental and international in scope, with writers like Tanizaki Junichiro creating works that explored themes of beauty, desire, and cultural identity with unprecedented psychological depth. His novel The Makioka Sisters painted a detailed portrait of a traditional Japanese family adapting to modern times, capturing both the losses and gains that came with social change. Jazz music arrived in Japan during this period and was quickly adopted and adapted by Japanese musicians, who created a unique style that combined American rhythms with traditional Japanese melodies. Dance halls opened in major cities, where young people could learn Western social dancing while still participating in traditional festivals and ceremonies. The Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 was a devastating event that destroyed much of Tokyo and Yokohama, yet it also became an opportunity for remarkable displays of community solidarity and mutual aid. The reconstruction that followed incorporated both modern urban planning principles and traditional Japanese concepts of harmony with nature. During the Taisho period, Japan also began to play a more prominent role in international affairs, joining the League of Nations and participating in international conferences on disarmament and cooperation. Japanese diplomats became known for their skill at finding common ground and building consensus, applying traditional Japanese concepts of harmony to international relations. As the 1930s progressed, Japan, like many nations around the world, faced economic challenges and social tensions that tested the resilience and wisdom that had characterized its development. The global economic depression affected Japan severely, leading to hardship for many families and creating pressures that would ultimately lead the nation down a more militaristic path. During this difficult period, many Japanese found solace in traditional cultural practices. Tea ceremony schools saw increased enrollment as people sought the peace and mindfulness that came from the careful preparation and sharing of tea. Gardens became places of refuge, where individuals could find moments of tranquility amid the uncertainties of the time. The period from the late 1930s through 1945 was undoubtedly the darkest chapter in Japan's modern history, as the nation became involved in conflicts that brought suffering to both Japanese people and others throughout Asia and the Pacific. Rather than dwell on these painful years, we can acknowledge that even in the darkest times, ordinary Japanese people continue to find ways to maintain their humanity, care for their families, and preserve the cultural values that had sustained them for generations. Teachers continued to gather children for lessons under difficult conditions. Farmers worked to feed their communities despite shortages and hardships. Artists and writers, even when constrained, found subtle ways to express beauty and truth. The resilience of the human spirit, so characteristic of Japanese culture, remained evident even in the most challenging circumstances. The end of World War II in 1945 marked not an ending, but a new beginning for Japan. From the ashes of destruction arose a remarkable story of peaceful reconstruction and renewal that would become one of the most inspiring chapters in modern history. The Allied occupation, led by General MacArthur, began what would become a unique experiment in peaceful transformation. Rather than seeking revenge, the occupation authorities worked with Japanese leaders to create a new constitution that enshrined the principles of peace, democracy, and human rights. Article 9 of this constitution, which renounced war as a means of settling international disputes, became a cornerstone of Japan's new national identity. The Japanese people embraced this new direction with characteristic determination and wisdom. In cities reduced to rubble, communities came together to clear debris, share resources, and begin the slow work of rebuilding. The spirit of Ganbat, doing one's best with perseverance and dignity, became evident everywhere as families worked together to create new homes and communities. Women gained the right to vote and began to participate more fully in public life, bringing their perspectives to the democratic process. Schools reopened with new curricula that emphasized critical thinking and international understanding alongside traditional Japanese values of respect and cooperation. The economy, too, began its remarkable recovery. Starting with basic necessities like textiles and simple manufactured goods, Japanese companies began to rebuild their industrial base. What made this recovery special was not just its speed, but the way it incorporated lessons learned from Japan's long history of craftsmanship and attention to quality. Small workshops and family businesses, drawing on generations of expertise in making beautiful and functional objects, began producing goods that combined traditional Japanese aesthetics with modern functionality. The concept of monozukuri, the art of making things with pride and dedication, became a driving force in Japan's economic recovery. The decades of the 1950s and 1960s witnessed what many called the Japanese economic miracle, but it was a miracle built on very human foundations: hard work, cooperation, education, and an unwavering commitment to quality and continuous improvement. Japanese companies developed management philosophies that emphasized long-term thinking, employee welfare, and consensus building. The concept of lifetime employment meant that workers and companies invested in each other's success, creating stable communities within the business world. Company songs, morning exercises, and quality circles brought elements of Japanese social harmony into the modern workplace. The Toyota production system, which emphasized waste reduction, continuous improvement, kaizen, and respect for workers' ideas, revolutionized manufacturing not just in Japan but around the world. This system was based on fundamental Japanese values of harmony, respect for others, and the belief that everyone has valuable contributions to make. During this period, Japan became famous for products that combined technical excellence with elegant design. Sony radios, Honda motorcycles, and Canon cameras were not just functional devices, but objects that brought a touch of Japanese aesthetic sensibility into homes around the world. These products reflected the Japanese understanding that truly excellent things must appeal not just to practical needs, but to the human desire for beauty and harmony. Education played a crucial role in this economic growth, with Japan achieving one of the highest literacy rates in the world. Japanese students became known for their dedication to learning, their respect for teachers, and their ability to work together in groups. The Japanese approach to education emphasized not just academic achievement, but also character development and social responsibility. The 1964 Tokyo Olympics marked Japan's full return to the international community and showcased the remarkable transformation the nation had undergone. The Games were notable not just for their organizational excellence, but for the spirit of hospitality and international friendship they embodied. The opening ceremony, with its celebration of peace and human achievement, moved observers around the world. As Japan's economy grew stronger, so too did its cultural confidence and international influence. The late 20th century saw a remarkable flowering of Japanese culture that would eventually spread around the world and capture the imagination of people everywhere. Japanese cinema, led by directors like Akira Kurosawa, began winning international recognition for films that combined spectacular visual storytelling with deeply human themes. Kurosa's Seven Samurai and Rashomon showed international audiences the depth and sophistication of Japanese artistic sensibilities, while his later films influence filmmakers around the world. Anime and manga, uniquely Japanese forms of visual storytelling, began to develop the distinctive styles that would eventually make them global phenomena. These art forms drew on traditional Japanese narrative techniques and aesthetic principles, but applied them to modern stories that spoke to universal human experiences of love, friendship, adventure, and personal growth. Japanese literature continued to evolve, with writers like Kawabata Yasunari and Oi Kenzaburo winning Nobel Prizes for works that explored the Japanese experience with sensitivity and profound insight. Their writing helped the world understand the subtle beauty of Japanese thought and feeling, while also addressing universal themes that resonated across cultural boundaries. The Japanese approach to technology during this period was characterized by a focus on miniaturization, user-friendliness, and aesthetic appeal. The Sony Walkman, introduced in 1979, didn't just change how people listened to music, it reflected the Japanese understanding of how technology should enhance daily life without overwhelming it. Japanese consumer electronics became synonymous with reliability, innovation, and thoughtful design. Traditional Japanese arts also experienced a renaissance during this period. Tea ceremony, flower arrangement, ikebana, and martial arts found new practitioners both in Japan and around the world. These practices appealed to people seeking ways to find calm and meaning in increasingly busy modern lives. The 1990s brought new challenges for Japan as the economic bubble of the 1980s burst, leading to what became known as the lost decade of slow growth and economic stagnation. Yet even during this difficult period, Japan demonstrated the resilience and adaptability that had characterized its response to challenges throughout history. Rather than panic or dramatic social upheaval, Japanese society responded to economic difficulties with characteristic patience and determination. Communities came together to support those facing hardship. Companies, rather than simply laying off workers, sought creative solutions to maintain employment while adapting to new economic realities. This period also saw important social changes as Japan began to confront the challenges of an aging population and changing family structures. The traditional model of lifetime employment began to evolve, giving way to more flexible work arrangements that allowed people to balance career and family responsibilities more effectively. Women began entering the workforce in greater numbers and in more diverse roles, bringing new perspectives and energy to Japanese society. While progress was sometimes slow, the direction of change was clear, toward a more inclusive society that valued everyone's contributions. The 1995 Great Hanshin earthquake in Kobe, like the earlier Kanto earthquake, became an occasion for remarkable displays of community solidarity and mutual aid. Volunteers from across Japan traveled to help with rescue and reconstruction efforts, demonstrating that the spirit of cooperation that had always characterized Japanese society remained strong. During this period, Japan also began to grapple more openly with difficult chapters in its history, engaging in dialogue with neighboring countries and working to build better relationships based on mutual understanding and respect. This process, while sometimes painful, reflected the Japanese commitment to continuous improvement and learning from the past. As the 21st century began, Japan found new ways to contribute to global culture and human well-being. The country that had once been known primarily for manufacturing excellence became increasingly recognized for its cultural creativity and innovation. Japanese video games, from Nintendo's family-friendly adventures to Sony's epic role-playing games, brought uniquely Japanese approaches to storytelling and interaction to people around the world. These games often emphasized cooperation, patience, and creative problem-solving over pure competition, reflecting traditional Japanese values in modern digital forms. The global popularity of anime and manga exploded during this period, with series like Naruto, One Piece, and Studio Ghibli films reaching audiences in every corner of the world. These stories, while distinctly Japanese in their sensibilities, dealt with universal themes of friendship, perseverance, and the importance of protecting what we love. Japanese cuisine also gained unprecedented international recognition during this period. Sushi restaurants opened in cities worldwide, but more importantly, people began to appreciate the Japanese approach to food, the emphasis on seasonal ingredients, careful preparation, and the aesthetic presentation that makes every meal a small celebration of beauty. The concept of kawaii, cuteness as an aesthetic and cultural value, became a global phenomenon, influencing fashion, design, and popular culture far beyond Japan's borders. This uniquely Japanese way of finding joy and comfort in small, adorable things offered people around the world a gentler, more playful way of engaging with life. Japan's response to the March 11, 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear disaster demonstrated once again the strength and resilience of Japanese society. In the face of unprecedented natural disaster, Japanese people maintained their composure, helped their neighbors, and worked together to begin the long process of recovery. The orderly evacuation procedures, the absence of looting, and the quiet dignity with which people faced tragedy earned admiration around the world. Today's Japan represents a remarkable synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern innovation. Walk through any Japanese city and you'll see this synthesis everywhere. Ultra-modern skyscrapers standing next to traditional temples, business people in Western suits stopping to pray at neighborhood shrines, cutting-edge technology being used to preserve and transmit traditional arts. Japanese companies continue to lead the world in robotics, developing robots that can provide care for elderly people with gentleness and respect. This technology reflects distinctly Japanese values, the importance of caring for elders, the belief that all beings deserve dignity, and the understanding that the best technology serves human needs rather than replacing human connections. The Japanese approach to environmental sustainability draws on both modern scientific understanding and traditional concepts of living in harmony with nature. Japanese cities are among the world's most energy efficient, while traditional practices like forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku, are being recognized internationally for their health benefits. Japanese design continues to influence global aesthetics, from the minimalist interiors popularized by Marie Kondo's KonMari method to the clean lines and user-friendly interfaces of Japanese consumer products. These design philosophies reflect the Japanese understanding that true beauty lies in simplicity, functionality, and respect for the user's experience. The Japanese education system, while facing its own challenges and reforms, continues to produce students who score among the highest in the world on international assessments. More importantly, it continues to emphasize values like cooperation, respect for others, and social responsibility that help create citizens who contribute positively to their communities. Japanese popular culture continues to evolve and spread globally, with new forms of expression constantly emerging. J-pop music, Japanese fashion, and Japanese approaches to social media all reflect the ongoing creativity and cultural vitality of Japanese society. The traditional arts also continue to thrive and evolve. Tea ceremony schools adapt ancient practices to modern lifestyles, finding new ways to help people discover moments of peace and mindfulness in busy lives. Martial arts continue to spread globally, carrying with them not just physical techniques but philosophical approaches to personal development and conflict resolution. As we near the end of our gentle journey through Japanese history, it's worth reflecting on the many gifts that Japan has given to the world, contributions that have made life more beautiful, more peaceful, and more harmonious for people everywhere. Japan pioneered the concept of quality as a comprehensive approach to manufacturing and service, showing that excellence comes not from accepting good enough, but from continuously striving to do better. This philosophy has improved products and services worldwide and raised standards for how businesses should treat their customers. Japanese management practices, with their emphasis on long-term thinking, employee development, and consensus building, have offered alternative models for how organizations can operate more humanely and effectively. The concept of nemawashi, building consensus through patient, respectful discussion, has influenced how decisions are made in organizations around the world. The Japanese aesthetic sense has enriched global culture in countless ways, from the clean lines of modern architecture to the seasonal awareness that influences how people think about food, fashion, and home decoration. The Japanese appreciation for imperfection and transience, embodied in concepts like wabi-sabi, has helped people find beauty in unexpected places. Japanese approaches to health and wellness, from practices like forest bathing to dietary principles that emphasize variety, seasonality, and moderation, have contributed to global understanding of how to live more healthful, balanced lives. Perhaps most importantly, Japan has demonstrated that it's possible for a nation to transform itself dramatically while maintaining its essential character and values. Japan's journey from feudal isolation to modern technological leadership shows that change doesn't have to mean losing one's identity, it can mean finding new ways to express enduring truths. Looking forward, Japan today and tomorrow. Today, Japan faces many of the same challenges confronting developed nations everywhere: an aging population, environmental concerns, economic pressures from globalization, and the need to maintain social cohesion in an increasingly diverse world. Yet Japan approaches these challenges with the same thoughtfulness, creativity, and commitment to harmony that have characterized its long history. Japanese researchers are leading efforts to develop sustainable energy technologies, drawing on traditional Japanese values of not wasting resources and living in balance with nature. Japanese cities are experimenting with new forms of urban planning that create more livable, community-oriented neighborhoods while accommodating the needs of modern life. The Japanese approach to caring for an aging population emphasizes not just meeting physical needs, but maintaining dignity, social connections, and opportunities for continued contribution to community life. This holistic approach to aging offers valuable insights for societies around the world facing similar demographic changes. Young Japanese people today are finding new ways to balance individual expression with social responsibility, creating lives that honor both personal fulfillment and community well-being. They're using technology not just for entertainment or efficiency, but as tools for creating art, building communities, and solving social problems. Japan's ongoing efforts to build better relationships with its neighbors and contribute to global peace reflect the nation's commitment to the principles embodied in its post-war constitution. Through cultural exchange, economic cooperation, and diplomatic engagement, Japan continues to work toward a more harmonious world. As our peaceful journey through Japanese history draws to a close, we can see that certain values and approaches have remained constant throughout all the changes and transformations. These enduring elements of Japanese culture offer wisdom that transcends any particular historical period. The Japanese appreciation for seasonal change and natural beauty reminds us to pay attention to the world around us, to find joy in small moments of beauty, and to accept that all things, both difficult and wonderful, will pass in their time. The cherry blossom, Japan's most beloved symbol, teaches us that the most beautiful things are often the most fleeting, and that this transience makes them more precious, not less. The Japanese emphasis on continuous improvement, kaizen, shows us that we can always become a little bit better, whether we're talking about manufacturing processes, personal skills, or social relationships. This principle suggests that perfection isn't a destination we reach, but a direction we travel, always with patience, respect, and attention to detail. The Japanese value of harmony, WA, demonstrates that individual excellence and social cooperation aren't opposites, but complementary aspects of a life well lived. True success, from this perspective, isn't about defeating others, but about finding our place in the larger pattern of life and contributing positively to the whole. The Japanese concept of craftsmanship, takumi, reminds us that work can be a form of meditation, a way of expressing care and respect for others through the things we make and the services we provide. Whether we're preparing food, creating art, or solving problems, we can approach our tasks with the same devotion and attention to quality that Japanese artisans have brought to their work for centuries. The Japanese relationship with nature goes far deeper than simple appreciation for scenic beauty. It represents a fundamental understanding that human life is inseparable from natural cycles and that true contentment comes from aligning ourselves with rather than opposing these larger rhythms. Spring in Japan is celebrated not just as the end of winter, but as a profound metaphor for renewal and hope. The gradual progression from plum blossoms to cherry blossoms to the first tender leaves of new growth provides a calendar of subtle changes that attune observers to the patient processes of natural development. Hanami, the practice of viewing cherry blossoms, becomes a meditation on beauty and impermanence, as people gather under flowering trees to appreciate both the spectacular display and its brief duration. Summer brings festivals that celebrate abundance and community connection. The sound of cicadas creates a sonic backdrop that triggers deep memories and associations for anyone who has experienced a Japanese summer. Evening festivals, with their paper lanterns, traditional music, and communal dancing, create opportunities for people to come together in celebration of the season's warmth and energy. Autumn in Japan offers perhaps the most spectacular display of natural beauty, as maple leaves transform mountainsides into tapestries of red and gold. The practice of momijigari, or autumn leaf viewing, encourages people to take time from busy schedules to witness this transformation and reflect on the beauty that can emerge from processes of change and letting go. Winter, rather than being seen as a dead or empty season, is appreciated for its own stark beauty and its opportunities for contemplation. Snow-covered gardens reveal the underlying structure of carefully designed spaces, while the challenge of winter weather brings communities together in mutual support and preparation. The Japanese garden represents perhaps the highest achievement in creating designed landscapes that honor natural processes while providing spaces for human contemplation and spiritual development. Master garden designers understand that a successful garden must work with the existing topography, climate, and plant communities while creating compositions that reveal new aspects of beauty as seasons change and years pass. Traditional Japanese architecture reflects similar sensitivity to natural conditions, with buildings designed to facilitate air circulation during humid summers while providing protection during winter months. The use of natural materials like wood and paper allows buildings to age gracefully, developing patterns and weathering that enhance rather than diminish their beauty over time. Contemporary Japan demonstrates that technological advancement and cultural preservation need not be opposing forces. Instead, the most successful Japanese innovations often apply traditional values and approaches to modern challenges, creating solutions that are both cutting-edge and deeply rooted in cultural wisdom. Japanese robotics research emphasizes creating machines that can work alongside humans rather than replacing them, reflecting cultural values that prioritize social harmony and respect for human dignity. Robots designed for elder care incorporate features that maintain the recipient's sense of independence and social connection, while industrial robots are programmed to work collaboratively with human partners. The Japanese approach to urban planning applies traditional concepts of neighborhood organization and community responsibility to the challenges of modern city life. Tokyo's system of small neighborhoods, each with its own commercial district and community facilities, creates a human scale within one of the world's largest metropolitan areas. The integration of small parks, shrines, and community gardens throughout urban areas provides residents with access to nature and quiet spaces for reflection. Japanese automotive design has consistently emphasized reliability, fuel efficiency, and user-friendly features that make driving less stressful and more enjoyable. The development of hybrid and electric vehicles in Japan reflects traditional values of resource conservation and harmony with natural systems, applied to modern transportation needs. The Japanese approach to sustainable agriculture combines traditional knowledge of soil management, crop rotation, and integrated pest management with modern techniques for monitoring and optimization. Small-scale farming operations maintain the personal attention and care that characterizes traditional Japanese craftsmanship while achieving productivity levels that can support local communities. Japanese medical research has made significant contributions to understanding longevity and healthy aging, drawing insights from traditional practices like forest bathing, meditation, and community-based social support systems. The integration of traditional and modern approaches to healthcare creates treatment options that address not just physical symptoms but also emotional and spiritual well-being. As our gentle journey through Japanese history and culture draws toward its peaceful conclusion, we can reflect on how Japan's unique perspective continues to offer valuable insights for addressing contemporary global challenges. The Japanese concept of omotenashi, Hospitality that anticipates needs without being intrusive has influenced service industries worldwide, showing how attention to small details and genuine care for others' comfort can transform routine interactions into meaningful experiences. This approach to hospitality reflects deeper values about human dignity and the importance of making others feel welcomed and respected. Japanese approaches to conflict resolution, emphasizing patient dialogue, face-saving compromises, and long-term relationship building, offer alternatives to more confrontational methods of addressing disagreements. The concept of nemawashi, building consensus through informal discussion and gradual agreement, has influenced diplomatic and business practices around the world. The Japanese understanding that mastery requires decades of patient practice and continuous improvement challenges cultures that expect immediate results and constant novelty. The path of the craftsperson, who dedicates their life to perfecting their skills while serving their community's needs, offers a model for finding meaning and satisfaction in work that goes far beyond mere economic considerations. Japanese aesthetic principles, with their emphasis on simplicity, naturalness, and the appreciation of subtle rather than obvious effects, provide guidance for creating environments and objects that support human well-being rather than overwhelming the senses. The Japanese understanding that true luxury lies not in ostentation but in quality, appropriateness, and careful attention to detail offers an alternative to more materialistic approaches to success and status. As the world faces environmental challenges that require fundamental changes in how humans relate to natural systems, Japanese traditions of resource conservation, seasonal awareness, and respect for natural cycles offer time-tested approaches that can be adapted to contemporary circumstances. The Japanese integration of individual excellence with community responsibility demonstrates that personal achievement and social cooperation can reinforce rather than undermine each other. This perspective offers hope for societies struggling to balance individual freedom with collective well-being. And so, dear listener, as you settle into the peaceful embrace of sleep, carry with you these gentle insights from the remarkable journey of Japan, a nation that has shown us how to honor the past while embracing the future, how to find beauty in simplicity, and how to maintain our essential humanity while adapting to an ever-changing world. May these timeless lessons bring you the same sense of harmony and quiet contentment that has sustained Japanese culture through its long and remarkable history. Rest well, knowing that somewhere in the world, the gentle wisdom of Japan continues to offer its gifts of beauty, craftsmanship, and peaceful coexistence to all who are ready to receive them.